It's Gemini season. Hi, it's Gemini season, and we're here talking about the mystic mindset for the modern moment.
So light up your incense and candles and let's get to it.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro.
Leading out love, leading out love, leading out loud.
Hello. Welcome to Leading Out Loud, the shift show that takes all things spiritual and makes it mysterical. I'm psychic astrologer Christopher Wotecki, the sensei to serious joy.
And I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor with scottcruzpm.com. How's your week been, Christopher? Got always ask how you been before we start.
I'd say it was kind of bumpy.
Yeah.
A lot of turbulence, a lot of just, being jarred around kind of a thing, mostly trying to just like stay on track. But I'm coming off of like a huge 6-7 month like work marathon.
Yeah.
So just now kind of like
inner work marathon, that's for sure. Or two.
What's
right?
Say again?
I said inner work marathon too. You've been
Every time the car don't run, you got to pop the hood.
At least you got the hood on there. But
yeah.
But and that's part of developing a mystical mindset too. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about developing the mystical mindset in the modern era today. What does that look like? And so we're going to get into that. So, and of course, the inner work is part of that process.
We are. In fact, we're going to open up our show with a little game where we reimagine how everyday businesses and community organizations become more mystical. So I guess we're imagining the 5D version of this stuff is another way of looking at it, or a mystical way of looking at this stuff. As if it was okay to be mystical.
Who signed that permission slip?
It's okay. So, as our gameplay goes, let me ask you the first one. How do you foresee hair salons as more mystical?
I think there'll be a station for bald men who channel, so therefore they'll allow them to massage their crown chakra, right? So I think us bald guys, we've not bald anymore, but we burnt our scalp from channeling, and I also feel like it might be a therapist station too, like where you're also getting your chakra lines, you're getting your therapeutic purge, and it's more than just doing the hair; it's actually aligning the crown chakra in 5D hair salons. What do you see?
I see the customer. Oh, we're having an echo here. You hear it? No? Okay, well, I have a customer. I see the customers being able to tell ahead of time if their hair is going to suck.
They have a 12-day forecast hair loss plan.
Yeah, but they're going to be able to tell the beautician's going to screw it up ahead of time because they'll be in 5D too. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. That helps this way people can prevent baldness before it occurs, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What do you think how grocery stores will be in 5D?
I think you'll intuitively know what food is killing you.
Really? That's it?
Yeah. I also think people will know if they're going to have the ripe stuff they want. Like if you want ripe tomatoes, you'll know they're in there now.
I think in 5D the food would be holographic, and then you can just kind of like pop it into like reality, right? And then you can actually format and formulate your own kind of chemical makeup and put it into existence. And yeah, I think it'd be more natural, more organic, more pure, right?
Huh.
And I think too, like 5D is like, we'll have sections of like aisles for like eyesight, right? Hair growth, and each food that would correlate for any type of like thing that we want to nurture.
That's clever. Huh. Wow, you really answered the question.
What else am I going to do on this show?
Probably true, but you may give me a thought there. It's like, if we did have like the enterprise, like, beam thing that can make stuff and materialize stuff, we could all eat in perfect nutrition all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But then like we also have like aisles that show like what foods will support certain things that we maybe need to like nurture.
Yeah. That was clever.
That'd be awesome. That's
very cool. Yeah. Organizing the store by health.
Yeah. Health and trauma. The trauma's on the outskirts. The trauma, on the outskirts of the grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah. What's next?
You. How will it be 5D in a restaurant?
You know what's funny? Like I don't see restaurants in 5D.
After that grocery store?
That's it.
That
Yeah,
grocery
I
store,
don't see
you had nothing? Yeah.
No,
okay.
because I think restaurants, groceries, people would be like preparing their own stuff, and I think we'd have more accessibility to do our own food that we wouldn't necessarily need restaurants. So they're not in my 5D world here.
I
What
feel
do you
that
think?
I feel that people need to get out of the house. So there will be restaurants, and I feel it's nice to eat around people too. That's cool. But I feel like the whole place will be run by robots. There
Yeah,
won't
well,
be
that's the grocery stores too. Yeah.
Yeah, all by
No.
robots. So you'll have a robot waiter and a robot cook, and pretty much it's a drive-through you sit in. You know?
And I was saying there's gonna be a lot of drive-throughs. I was going to see that too, like a lot more drive-throughs than 5D. Believe it or not, but we have quality food to the drive-throughs. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can get the prime steak at the drive-through.
You know, it's
Because
interesting.
there's-
They have virtual restaurants now, where like the Denny's kitchen is actually cooking Bennigan's.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, like kitchens. Yeah, they rent out their kitchens to other brands, and
Get out of here.
from a delivery store perspective, like DoorDash, it just it's just delivering from that same restaurant. You never know, but they're bringing back even old restaurants like Bennigan's actually, and their menus in these virtual.
That's funny you said that.
Yeah, and that's
Before you came to the meeting, I was telling Sage that he looked like he had a Bennigan's lamp. So that's funny. That's a synchronicity there. Synchronicity.
Well, we're on this
Maybe
show.
Bennigan's is going to be coming back in 5D. Who knows?
Yeah.
Schools.
Well, I think schools are kind of obvious in the sense that
Look
like
down.
well, no, I just feel like you have like telepathy training from age 3. You know, you develop your gifts, identify them early. You find out spiritually what your karma is. You start working to heal it. You know, in 3rd grade. You know, like really advanced early childhood spiritual development. So that's not a thing. So it's not a thing.
Totally agree. I definitely see like spiritual intuitive development is key. You know, not religion. And I also feel too in 5D they teach you how to like manage money at a young age.
Oh,
They
yeah.
really teach you how to be, how to be successful and own your own business and your own practice. So that's definitely taught in 5D schools too, because I think a lot of people will be self-sufficient, but also connect with the collective. So I think they'll be taught those aspects in the schools in 5D.
Or at least the ChatGPT instructions.
Right. Exactly. The bullet points.
Yeah, what do they call them? The prompts. Teach you the prompts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now your question. How do you see mindful mystics or mystical mindsets in community sports for kids?
That's an odd question. I mean, you really can't. I mean, no change. They're just playing sports, yeah.
Kind of,
The
yeah.
ball's holographic. How about that?
It might, yeah, okay.
Dude,
I mean, it
that's
might get-
the thing. Look, I do see this. They'll do like a lot of holographic things at home. I feel like that can like integrate more home stuff. So it might be like more holographic, like virtual reality type of stuff too, integrated.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I think that would happen. I also think that, well, first of all, kids now, athletes, they're already very psychic. They don't realize it, but their body's moving, everything's moving to their spiritual.
Yeah,
They
they're in the
surrender to their higher self in those moments, and so I can't say being more psychic would change the sports that way. I bet you there's operating pretty elitely now, but still call it psychic.
Yeah, I do feel like their abilities would extend, right? Because if they're more intuitively inclined and they're able to like be in the flow, so to speak, they could jump higher, right? Like maybe hit harder, be more intuitive and instinctual. So it might probably be more competitive.
Yeah, probably, especially if officially that everyone believed that things were psychic, and so it became like an athlete. They focused like an athlete on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this one isn't a far stretch, but I'm giving it to you anyways. Sports.
No, it's housing.
Oh, kids sports. Oh,
Housing.
that's the second line. Excuse me. Okay,
Yeah.
how will housing be different in 5D?
It's funny because like you always want to think of the Jetsons and stuff as being that way. And I do feel like we'll have more sky houses like that. I actually do feel that in 5D, and we will have more air travel. So I do kind of want to give a nudge to the Jetsons on that. And I think like everything would be kind of built in, right? We have a built-in robot that's doing things. We have a built-in station that creates our food. So I feel like everything will be very accessible in our homes in 5D too. It's despite that, you would think that people would be stuck at home. Like, no, I think people want to get out more too. So that's how I see it. Thanks for lowering that music, because I know I was taking too much time on that one.
It's supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to play when we're not talking. So things are really inside out. Yeah, I feel.
I was kind of getting lost in music myself. I forgot what I was saying because the music was hypnotizing me. Like, where am I going?
Yeah, the audience too. They're like, stop. I think homes will be like spiritually attuned. I think that we'll be able to read frequency to precision, and we'll be able to bring things in the home that amplify certain frequencies and take away frequencies. I think it'll be like energetically almost kind of sculpted to manage conscious energy and manage even like the modems. I mean, the cell phone energy to bounce off and stuff. So
totally.
I feel it'll be something like that. And I also feel geographically we're going to start living more where we're supposed to. Like, I know astrology has the data of like where you are your best depending on what you're working on. So
totally.
I can see us navigating towards places in the world where we know you're going to like it, because we know it's going to feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing to keep in mind too, simplified. A lot of people have just a lot of shit in their homes. I feel like we won't have so much stuff in our homes either. The basics. And that we have that one piece of art that brightens the room, not hundreds of pieces of art. So I think it'd be more simplistic too, not over encumbered with shit.
Yeah. Well, if you're more inner focused, anyways. I feel like if we all become spiritual inner focused in a big way, and we're looking at our life as a movie rather than as the source of information, I feel like people slow down. They want things smaller.
You're right, of course.
Right. They just want things smaller. They want things in smaller bites because they're taking such deep dives in all of life, and simplicity that's part of genius. I mean, the more genius, the more simple.
Yeah, and again, like I think that what people don't understand is like what is in your external world is like reflection of what's going on in the mind, and so if it's too bare, if it has no personality, you probably have no personality, it's barren, you're barren, but if it's like congested, and I think it's a good time now. I've been seeing a lot of messages from spirit telling and advising those to really focus on their home life and get that situated, get in the rhythm of the home foundation, because it is going to correlate what's going on in the mystical mind, right? And with all that in the mystical mind, where are we going, right? Where are we headed to? And that's actually my live show tomorrow night. I'll be talking about where are we going, where are we headed, because all this chaos is going on in the world. Roll the promo, roll the advert there, Morgan. I know I kind of led into it, but we all are very in the situation in the world that's very chaotic, and a lot of people feel very uncertainty, a lot of financial uncertainty, certain uncertainty with the economy. So we're gonna get into that. I'll be more giving my psychic reads too. I've gotten a lot of psychic reads for 2025. We'll be getting into that tomorrow night too, and live readings tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, every Thursday. And I hope to see you there and tune in.
That was the smoothest self-advert you've ever done.
Nice segue in, right?
Yeah.
Roll the commercial.
Not even Morgan noticed.
He's like, what are you talking about?
We're always talking about the show. Okay.
I know.
It was that smooth, though. You went that smooth, so yeah. All right, so that's fantastic.
Roll that commercial, though.
Thank you, Scott, for all of your reassurance and guidance. I had a mediumship reading, and you brought my uncle and my mother-in-law forward. And, I mean, there was things that you said that nobody would know. Like, it was so accurate. It was insane. And I appreciate the closure that I got and the peace that I felt. And I really appreciate even more that you are a genuine person who truly cares. That made the biggest difference for me. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Scott Cruz. He made such a huge difference in my grief. I'm a little bit emotional because he just said things about my husband and my papa that there's no way anybody could have known or guessed. He told me things about my grandchildren, nicknames. There's nothing he could have known beforehand. So I definitely appreciate him. And if you're having any issues, struggling through grief, and needing some guidance or just needing to feel okay, talk to Scott.
Hey there, my name is Chad. He brought up personal things that I don't know how nobody else would know but me, and he brought them up, which was just incredible. He said something, it didn't make sense to me, And then a year and a half later, after I had spoken to someone and I reread those notes, I was like, oh, wow, Scott nailed it back then. Didn't make sense then, but it made sense as time passed. And the last thing is, what I like about Scott is he doesn't seek out fame or fortune from this. He genuinely wants to help people. I thoroughly recommend an appointment with Scott. Go ahead and book it. You won't be disappointed.
Scott Cruz is popularly known for his life-changing one-on-one readings to also guide in your soul ascension journey. With life readings, get insight into your relationships, career, health, trauma healings, past life regressions, and more. Want to connect with a loved one who's transitioned? Scott's mediumship session can be the gateway to you and your loved ones in spirit, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual realm. If you want to enhance your own psychic ability, Scott's Intuition Builder session can help expand your psychic and mediumship abilities. So sign on to scottcruzpm.com to book your own personal session today.
We're back. What's that? No. I didn't know it was an infomercial, though. I didn't know it was an infomercial.
I figured change the format up a bit. You know what I mean?
I washed the floors. I washed the floors while we were waiting for that. That was great.
Are you sick and tired of this? Are you sick and tired of feeling this? You know, those infomercials.
Oh, totally.
Back in the day.
I'm feeling 80s, yeah, for sure. Well, we're back from LOL, and we're now going to talk about the Zodiac weather and what's going on energetically. I have no intro here. And I can't remember what you call your part. But the psychic reading, I can't remember what it is. But nonetheless, let's talk about the times right now, buddy. What are you picking up? Yes, how I was doing. How are your clients doing?
You know, it's funny because it's like I've been saying the same thing, and I always say week to week, it's like I've been preparing for this. So a lot of my clients have been in very transitory, places right now, which is good. I've been saying that about May, June. So a lot are moving. A lot are doing. I would say think about career changes. There's a lot that are actually settling divorces in the same place, and so I feel a lot of clients feel in betwixt. The shedding and the new. So like you say, the new, right? And so there's a lot of trepidation with a lot of my clients lately because they feel that angst of that excitement moving forward. But what do I do? It's so unknown to me. It's like, okay, well, let's help buffer. That's what I do with my clients. I've been helping to buffer, that the past and the new. And so, yeah, and I think moving forward with the collective current too is just like, I keep saying revelation is a great term for me. Moving forward is more about revealing the truth of yourself, others, the good and the bad. So I think that's also part of this in betwixt phase before we get that new is bring that revelation of the true self and the true intentions. Psychic Surf Report was the title.
Yeah, back in the day. Well, we can bring that back because frankly, that's the only one I remember.
Yeah. Isn't that? Yeah, that's what I remember too.
So it went well. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been kind of caught. I mean, I've been one of those people. I've been. You're describing how I felt. Like I've been between worlds, and I know I'm between worlds, but it doesn't matter if you know you are. You still get lost and kind of spaced out and find yourself in a corner. Talking to a spider, stuff like that.
Right.
You find yourself off your track, but it's because two timelines are shifting. The astrology, is really about the mind, and this is a mindful time. The Gemini is the mind. Over the last, Jupiter has been in Gemini, and so when Jupiter hits, any sign, it makes you realize how much you don't know. Like whatever sign it is, like this is what you don't know. In fact, its words are, "Did you know? Did you know this? Did you know that?" And people are like, I didn't even have an idea about that. And so everything just like gets bigger. And you see more opportunity from awareness. But because it's been in the mind, and we've been under mind control in so many ways since in the last 12 years, since the last time I was there, we had all of this, everything happened, since COVID, everything like that. So now the like the COVID kind of like reality that people experience, and then now the freeing of the mind, people are starting to go, I think in the sense of just maybe there's something they didn't think about before, and in personal life too. A lot of people have healed because of the stuff in Pisces. We have Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. People have healed their karma. I mean, from this point, they know better. And if they do it again, that was their choice.
Right.
There's no more subconscious stuff happening that would trigger us or drive you in the wall or, just don't do something stupid. All that subconscious stuff has been enlightened. So your patterns. And that, I think now with Jupiter and Gemini is like, whoa. I mean, I know so much what not to do. We have this wisdom of knowing ourselves like we never had before. So it's interesting that it happens. And so, this week we have Venus going to Taurus, just for some headlines. So things are getting a lot calmer and juicier and nicer, and you'll eat at better restaurants. Sunday, Mercury will conjunct Jupiter at 29 degrees in Gemini. So Sunday's one of those days. I've been predicting a day coming where people are just going to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and basically just kind of chill, like have a mental breakdown, not a real mental breakdown, but pretty much a mental breakdown where their mind, it's all a house of cards and it's all not true kind of thing. There'll be a percentage of people who sort of do that crash. And one time might be this Sunday when the Mercury's on Jupiter, because that's pretty intense. Like one way or another, people's minds will be blown somehow. Right. That's cool. And then, Jupiter goes into Cancer on Monday, June 9th. So the Cancer, I don't know about you, but 2014 was the last time Jupiter was in Cancer. Do you remember that? It was like the end of 2013. It was like June of 2013, May of 2013, all the way into 2014.
Yeah, I for one had a major shift. Like I remember with my creativity, like I really kind of abandoned, that's where actually my psychic business really flourished, actually 2014. That's when it shifted to be public, actually, because I was doing secret. I didn't want to be so publicly known. That's where it shifted to be public. And I'm like, that was my karma. I'm like, I don't want like people to know I'm a mystic, and I just don't want to be, and so, yeah. And so I think that even what you were saying before about even this time now, like people are recognizing the karma. The thing is, I wanted to say in conjunction to that is that people are realizing it's karma. That's a wonderful thing now. People realizing, oh yeah, that's my karma. That's the revelation I was talking about. So that's a wonderful thing. But yes, back to 2024, that's where I major shift. That's where my career actually took a new direction, actually, in major direction, major shift.
Yeah. I crashed.
You crashed?
It was a forced reboot, really. I mean, I was doing 12 horoscopes a day, 5 days a week by myself in a big house I couldn't afford. And so I was just overextended, typical me. But it got me into like Namaste Today. So, consolidate to one show a day, and then I consolidated to one show a week. Like I came back down to reality. And I moved to another location in Southern California. So there's a lot of changes that happened.
A lot of change.
Yeah, that happened here. And I shifted gears more towards, really serious joy. I mean, that was a shift between Soul Guard and Serious Joy.
Yeah. Wow.
Two brands.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we both had like major like pivoting moments up to 2014. Because I even changed. I was doing like rock music at that time. I'd like to change to like more soul pop. Like everything just changed about my expression, and in a wonderful way. I mean, it's funny you asked this, because I was looking back at that time today and reflecting about like how I've changed from that time and how I've evolved from that time. And it's always good to look back and see, wow, a completely different person.
Yeah, well, you see, Jupiter frees the mind, which is a huge component of holding yourself back, and then Jupiter frees emotion in Cancer, and so sometimes it's turbulent in Cancer, because if you've had anything repressed, it's going to come up like a volcano now. Jupiter's just force it up to the surface. So if you're sitting on feelings, be prepared. But once they're all out, they're out. And so when that happens, you feel free, alive, refreshed, healthy, all sorts of things. You didn't realize emotion was killing you, but it was.
Yeah. But I think a lot of times, I just posted a video about this, about having like an emotional constipation. Like no one likes to be full of shit. And when you hold things in, just like physical constipation, like you feel bloated and heavy, but when you release it, you feel better. And so we have to start using our voices, and what you feel, let you feel what you feel, get it out of you. Because when we hold it in, right, then we're being fake and phony, and we're basically full of shit, both in the figurative sense, the literal sense. So I think it's time now to use that voice, express it, get those feelings out. So many people are afraid of the maybe negative emotion because they're afraid it's going to lead them somewhere bad. It's like, no, just getting it out might give you more perspective, more objectivity.
Well, I was convinced it was going to kill me or something to feel those emotions again, and I was terrified of the emotions. That's what I realized over a long period of time. I was terrified of having to feel it. I was afraid that if a feeling started, it would never stop. I was afraid I'd be caught in it forever, and
right.
So I just ran from them, or just distracted myself mostly. And they've caught up to me a lot. I mean, I think a lot of times when I'm hospitalized and have like pneumonia, the feelings have caught up to me, and you don't even realize you're pushing or repressing stuff like that away. You think just being strong, you're pushing through, getting through it. Like your mind is not all geared to like, this is bad, you're repressing emotion. It's more like get your shit together, let's go. Right. At least that's how I responded to it. And so
a lot of people respond like that. I mean, I've responded that way too, and like in anger. But it's like, I was fighting against it instead of fighting it. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, when I decide to grapple that and say, no, I really want to convert this portion of myself, then it's like, that's where it feels so free. And you don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
then you understand the emotion is just a result of focus. It's not doesn't dictate me, right? And so yeah, a lot of people are experiencing that right now. A lot of people
Yeah.
even, like you said before, are paralyzed right now because of the intense emotion, and the politics aren't helping. With the fear mongering.
They're decided. I think the politics are designed by that, by the universe. The universe wants
Of
you to
course.
get all this out, and so you're going to get upset.
Agreed.
If you've been repressing feelings, you're going to get upset. But
Hmm.
it's not what they're doing; it's how you're feeling that matters. And I think if you
It's how
focus
you
on,
respond to it. Yeah.
yeah, that's your chance. The truth is, nothing should get to us. Like nothing in the world should actually upset us inside. Nothing.
Hmm.
You should see it as a movie. I mean, if you go to a movie, you leave, it's fine. Even though it's like you watch 20 people get stabbed by a teenage killer.
Right.
And and it's like this horrible stuff. You leave going, I don't care. I think that's the way life has to be. You have to be the point where you're like, okay, that was fake. Not that it was, but it was.
Right. Well, I say objective and unaffected. Like it's just like you're objective to understand why it's occurring, why it's connecting the way it's connecting without judgment. And you understand the process and the karmic cycles that we're all kind of combining within each other as a collective. You understand it. You don't have to fight against it or be in fear with it. So yeah, you're 100% correct. I agree with that. And that is 5D. And that's kind of that's where the mystical mindset develops, actually, is having that objectivity.
Well, also getting into the feelings, because the feelings have like gigabytes, terabytes of information. And the mind can only process bit by bit, word by word. And so when you allow a feeling to overcome you and just ride it for a minute, because it will dissipate, it goes away, it runs out of energy. It runs out of energy unless you fight it. If you fight it, it keeps the energy up. If you just like let it blow through you, it just goes through you. You will understand so much from that emotional moment than you will for a whole night of thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, for me, like I remind myself of the formula. Like I focus on something, then it renders a thought, and that thought renders an emotion, right? So like you said, a movie, I love you brought that analogy up. It's like we're schizophrenic. One minute we're happy, one minute we're sad, one minute we're in fear, one minute we're like cheering things on, one minute we're crying, right? So our mind can process emotion rapidly, right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean the emotion that you're feeling is legit or of a substance or value either. So we have to be aware of those thoughts. And as we, after this break, we'll get into like, the dominion over the mind when it comes to mystical mindset, that we have to observe those thoughts, understand, is it just a emotion rendering because of a focus I'm not really intending, or is it actually from something deep rooted? And we'll get into that more after the break.
Yes, after the break. From the creators of 40 Days of Past Lives and Karma and 40 Days of Self-Love comes the class you've been waiting for, an introduction to Step Astrology. That's right, I'm sharing some of my inside secrets on how to read a chart according to Step Astrology and help you interpret the stars, whether it's for yourself or for clients. Keep a lookout for us coming soon.
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding on to residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.
I help people to kind of get in touch with their gut, which some people believe is your first brain now, right?
Right.
And what the coolest part about what I do is that it's not like I sell anybody on anything. Like people come to me because they know that they need to get to me, either for higher self work, colon hydrotherapy work, how to have like living food in your world, how to create your purpose, how to tap your intuition, how to align chakras, systemic like energy moving through the body. I take care of people to help them to realign their integrity within themselves for their mind, body, and spirit. And the integrity is really the right relationship. It's not like a moral judgment or anything. It's just right relationship. And I feel like a lot of people in this world know that they're not in right relationship and aren't always sure how to get back into it.
That's interesting. I'm liking the commercials coming out here now. They're a little longer in depth and they're conversation. No, I'm serious. Like that was interesting. Michelle's great, and she's really talented as a person. So it's great to hear her
Look,
talk.
and the gut is so freaking important to our overall health. I tell people that everything is the immune system. Like the gut is the nucleus of what needs to be, healthy, and then the immune system is secondary. So it's very important. And cleansing, the sacral chakra too, in that sense as well. But I think that's wonderful what she's doing. To be able to get people focused on the gut.
She was on our panel, clean slate or basically clean living, like how to live clean. She talked about, things like that. So we're going to talk about Gemini season and the mindset mysticism or the mindset of mysticism. And there is a mindset to it, but it's not all in the mind.
Well, how can we figure out a mystical mindset then if it's not all in the mind, right? Well, the first key for me is, like I was saying before the break, is having dominion over your mind. Like I said before, we focus on something, it renders a thought, and then that renders an emotion. We can do whatever we want with that emotion, and having dominion over that energy, which is just energy in motion. That's what emotion is. So we can dictate and say, well, I want to take this emotion and turn it into something else, or it's actually an emotion that's from unresolved circumstance. We need to have dominion to understand how this process is going in this brain of ours, because the mind is actually filtering your soul perspective. And so that's why my tagline is aligning the mind with the soul. So yes, having dominion over the mind and how are you processing is very key to the first step.
Okay, I agree. The step system taught me, I believe that we'll feel it before we think it, actually. I feel the feeling comes and the mind interprets. And what that means is that the mind is supposed to take the feeling and then go with that information. And I think part of the dominion of the mind is you don't let the mind run itself. It has to check with the rest of you and incorporate the messages from the rest of you to be a 5D mind, in my opinion. And so it's that command. And, no one state of awareness really is in charge. However, I think the final vote goes to the heart. So to me, that's also dominion. It's the heart that has dominion over the mind.
Right. And I believe too, like in order for us to really feel the heart, we got to clear out that crap too. Like, because we have so many patterns going on in that mind, right? That's just like on autopilot. Yep. And if you're conscious enough to view that, we've had patterns from like just stuff we've inherited from our freaking parents and shit. And
brainwashing.
Brainwashing. So yeah, the first key to even, because a lot of people don't feel their heart. A lot of people, I'm sure you know, a lot of people, they don't know what they feel, they know what they want. I'm like, what do you want? So if we're actually at least observing first the processing that we're doing, then we can start feeling the heart more. The heart will shine through. We'll see that dichotomy.
Agree 100%. In fact, in my approach to Serious Story too, we know that we're not going to get to your heart right away because it's buried by your thinking that distracts you, and it's buried by all your feelings you don't want to feel. So you actually have to clear the thoughts and then the feelings, then the heart. And then the other thing too is if the heart doesn't feel safe, it will not open up. So boundaries are really important too for the heart to open up. So, to me, the mystical mindset is that you're this whole organism, you're this spiritual human being, and you're mindful of all parts of it.
Right.
And the mind is more of a observer than it is a speaker.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads into the second point too, is like being a magician of your mind. Right. Because, for me, I always feel like at this point now, I'm like, what do I want to do with that energy? And what kind of energy or frequencies do I want to activate within my mind? So a lot of times we hear about like gratitude, for example, and gratitude is a power. It's an energy, and that energy can be used to power so many different things of appreciation that will enhance things around you. So being the magician, understanding what to take out, what to put in, being the alchemist of the mind is very important, because it really is all about what we amplify. And the more we are very much in conscious of what we're reacting to and what we're responding to, and simplify what is coming from the heart, the second step is you'll be able to put things in, take things out the way you wish, and be more conscious of kind of building that mental magic, which is also then synchronizing with the soul. And that's leads to powerful manifestation.
Yeah, you want all of your states united. The United States of Awareness is how I call it.
I like that.
All be on the same team. I find that a big tool with the mind is boundaries. A lot of people let their mind go too far. And so to me, part of it is you have to create boundaries and have your mind adhere to them. And the best boundary is time. So like the way I got out of like certain obsessions that I had, because I just couldn't stop. Like sometimes your intelligence can turn against you and you're in trouble at that point because you're like arm wrestling yourself, which is silly, but true. And so I came up with this idea, or my guides gave it to me. He's like, okay, tell the mind it can think about that tomorrow at 2 a.m. And so that was my first boundary. I was like, nope, we're not thinking about till 2 a.m. Not till 2 a.m. Every time he came up, I'd be like, no, 2 a.m., not till 2 a.m. And for a while I was doing that. But then literally after a couple of minutes, I was like, oh, it's obeying.
Yeah.
And, if I feel it, it's comfortable. And of course I, was asleep at 2 a.m. So it was like arbitrary and kind of a trick, because I
Right.
knew I wouldn't want to. But when I did go back to it in those times, I didn't care anymore. And that's
Right.
what really pointed me towards the fact that your mind, if emotion is step 2 and the mind is step 5, your mind is sitting in your emotions. It's sitting in the juice of your emotions. And I feel like your emotional, the emotions that get hands off to the mind determines a whole variable which way the mind's going to go. A whole variable.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that's really important to understand as well, that, when we have certain aspects of what we're processing too, like there's so many different ways we can express those things as well. And I like to say it's important that we schedule our thinking, because I know a lot of people are like in fear about things. So they're constantly processing like a certain, project or circumstance that they're in that they're trying to resolve. And it's like, thinking about it all day just congests that space mentally, so it doesn't leave room or space for anything else to process. So if you have, like, say, a litigation or divorce going on, maybe schedule your thinking between 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and that's your thinking about it, and then you schedule other times to focus and to think about things. Because we have so much stuff running on autopilot in our minds that we won't even have the bandwidth to process intuition with that. So if you're going through heavy circumstances, I advise, like, schedule the times when you think about it. And after a certain time, you're not thinking about it, processing that any longer. That gives more balance of what's coming in, what's coming out, and, again, we need to understand that as we're living in the modern world as a mystic, right, Christopher? Because, like, a lot of people say, well, okay, what does it look like living in the modern world as a mystic? And my first thing I'll say, and I'll pass to you, I'll say this really quickly, the difference is we're not rejecting it anymore. In the modern world.
Yeah. The modern world seems not to be, although I still meet, like, older gentlemen, like in their 60s, ask me what I'm doing. He pretty much spits his wine out, when he hears that I'm an astrologer. I still get that from like old men like that. But,
oh, Christopher, my mom we met this new couple here in Sparks. My parents were visiting, and she told the person, she's like, "Oh yeah, my son's a psychic medium," and she goes, she started laughing, thinking it was a joke.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes.
They do. They can't imagine that. It's that far. I'll tell you, the modern technology has been really helpful because, like, like text messages, I'll think of someone, get a message. Like, so the proof of telepathy is faster. The proof of being connected is faster with technology. And so that's already kind of making 5D. I think as a mystic, it's like everyone's becoming like we've been, that's what I feel in the modern world. I also feel like things are going to change big time. I mean, I just still imagine a day where the intelligence that I have in astrology can be available to a kindergarten teacher. It's like, if I could just make it available to a kindergarten teacher. I mean, because if the world has no freaking idea how much we know who a person is just from their date of birth, and how we could sculpt schools, we could sculpt any experience to suit your soul, your mind, body, and your soul. We just use this in modern times, and I think of it also in technology. Where it's like, if you're a Virgo and you walk up to the fridge is like, I don't know.
Right. Right.
Right. Like,
but, and I always have to see the rise of quantum computing, which also helps with the kind of mystical mind, because, I always ask, when you think about something and it like pops up on your feed and, and people say, oh, they're listening to you. There's things I've said or things that I thought but I didn't say out loud that just pop up on my feeds, like specifically. And I think my hypothesis is that with quantum computing, these devices can pick up on your resonance, and it can then generate, almost like pop up an image or an ad that relates to such. Because isn't that what tarot technology is? When we utilize tarot as a mystic and we're just like sitting there focusing on the energy, and the cards pop up with the energy we're thinking or feeling or the energy that exists, right? Yeah. So I really feel like the modern mystic day is like, that's what quantum computing really is. And you're right. And the modern day mystic is like, we are utilizing these spiritual technology, and again, we're not denying that. Intuition is something that's very, very accepted. That's step one to, being a mystic, is understanding intuition. So I think in the modern world is really understanding these technologies and not scoffing at astrology, not scoffing, as these things that you were saying before, and embracing it and realizing there's truth behind it. Because we can put Christopher on now. Astrology is so in depth, Christopher, right? It's so scientific, and I want you to concur in this. How could it be so in depth but not true? It's just so much layers to it, right?
People that I talk to are unwilling to listen and even consider it in their logical mind, because I say, no, I don't know if you understand how it works. And they're close from the very beginning. There's a lot of that goes into that. A lot of people, first of all, past life Christian abuse or, religious abuse seriously, like they're afraid of going into church, even though they hate the church this life and they never want to be back again. They're so wounded by organized religion, the chart, that they don't want to hear anyone's bullshit about anything. And
Right.
so that I come across that a lot, and I'm just like, oh, I get you, you know. So I think it's a variety of things that makes people resist. But I'll tell you what, as soon as you get on that, as soon as you talk to them and relate to them and like relate to them on something they are going with in a way that no one's spoken to, that's the thing about readings. It's like, my God, I've been thinking that. I've never told anyone I was thinking that. It was like, it's the thoughts that you weren't even admitting to yourself that we're able to kind of like pull out because it's those missing essences that modern society is ignoring.
Right.
So people are at that point, you're hooked. Like when you know everything about you is in this form of a print. Like that's what obsessed me. When I found out through a stumble. It's a long story, but like I was like, "What? There's something that knows me this good?" Like I just was stunned. I was stunned.
Yeah.
And then it was just available, you know, in a birth certificate. It's like just out there. Your whole you know about your social security number? Jesus Christ! Hide your time of birth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
You're really worried about your privacy because it's all in there. It's all in there.
It's true.
Amazing.
It's all in there. That's very true. And so, and then another like thing is, I think that would be changing, right, is like finding other mystics that aren't your students, right? Because a lot of us, you know, who are working light workers, we have a lot of other mystics that really are our clients, our students, so forth. And so I know you've been seeing this. You started it with Night to Light too last year, that I start seeing a lot more of the light workers and mystics coming together and share, and also like collaborating on their crafts. Right. And if not helping each other build certain crafts, you're definitely helping me be more astrology focused and conscious. And I think that that's what I find too, is that, you know, finding other mystics and collaborating, do more collaborations.
Yeah. Teaming up with mystics. I mean, I love having the whole team. It's like a doctor. I want other opinions.
Right.
I always, if there's something really powerful, I always check at least with 3 mystical friends, like you are one of them. When I want to hear what you have to say and what you pick up on. And I find they all pick up on and say the same thing, but they say it from different perspectives with different details.
Right.
And so I almost always have a unanimous call amongst my psychic friends. You all tell me the same thing, but each of you, have like it's like, Jesus, Chris, you know, but I have to hear it 3 times. No, it has to resonate with me and you guys actually, but you fill in parts of it that I wouldn't have looked at. Each of you has a different skill set.
Exactly.
You know, the wisdom that you bring to it and tell me, you know, so it's all cool. And, you know, I can't imagine like being a president and not having a board of psychics. I can't imagine.
Seriously.
I can't imagine it. I mean, I would have a whole team. All right, guys, what the fuck? Where's the country?
Right. Yeah, I think political leaders, you know, actually do astrology. I think they look at astrology. I think they understand the currents and the trends, and they understand how to kind of gaslight the energy too, to evoke it within people. I think they're totally behind the scenes of shadow government. I think they all know astrology and how to manipulate things using it. I totally believe that.
I'll tell you, the bad guys do. I know that. I mean, 9/11 was
That's
so
what I'm talking
perfect.
about.
9/11 was so perfect. I remember back then when I was just a really beginner astrologer, wasn't even out of the astro closet, and I thought, my God, they couldn't have picked a better day in September. I mean, it could not, you know. But then I was like, the terrorists couldn't have, you know. But now I'm like, okay, the terrorists, you know, did pick it. It was so clear. You couldn't pick a better day. And just with all the plans and stuff, just the day, the impact it would have, the memory it would echo. Right. People right in the right spot, you know. You know, it echoes very long. So yeah, there's some dark science to and astrology to that. But even kings, you know, that's how I stayed alive. I was an astrologer. Kings never killed me. Kings never kill me. Because sleep with his daughter. He's not going to kill me because he wants to know if he's going to win the war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it was, you know, it's been a useful skill over the past lives. I've been an astrologer almost every life, I'm pretty sure.
That's interesting.
It's been like in my mind or rediscovered or thought about. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think in this lifetime, like you're, you know, here to like kind of like now merge astrology into psychic awareness. Because I mean, you and I talked about that personally, right? And that's also part of the mystical mind, is developing that intuition. I mean, intuition is something that is the soul's voice, and I think people need to understand if you're not hearing your intuition, you're not listening to your soul's voice. Yeah. And that intuition is that mouthpiece. Yes, it starts intuition, but that can definitely develop into psychic awareness and psychic abilities. That intuition is more self and what's around you. Psychic ability can actually extend into the collective trajectories of other people that's unrelated, that's not emotional, that's not empathetic. And so that will build into such. But intuition is the core. And when you allow yourself to really, I would say, consider the intuition, the soul voice, that's also an important aspect of that mystical mind.
I think we'll be taught intuition from, you know, age 2. I really think so. I mean, my son was telepathic until he was 4. He didn't start talking till he was 4. And my mom, who's psychic, was like, "You realize you're not talking to him, right? It's all telepathy." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then my son comes around around the corner and does this. I'm like, "Oh, he wants milk." She's like, "You're doing it right now." You know, like It was so intuitive with him. I had to start using words.
Right.
It was interesting to see. I was like, oh, okay. It's just I don't know. It's like same with animals. Like they pop a sentence in your head, and you're like, "Hey, is that my imagination? No, that was what they wanted." You know what I mean? That's always trippy too.
Oh, you want a cracker? You know,
we just went outside. What do you mean you want to go there? We just went.
Yeah, sometimes I have that with my dog or something like that too, and just like he just like I just feel he wants something, and I go and get it. Or sometimes like before I think about taking him out, he's getting excited. I'm like, I didn't even think or change my behavior. Like the dogs are psychic too; they know as well. So, and that's why animals are more sentient. They know completely. Like before my parents come, like 10 minutes before they come, like I don't even tell them they're coming. Like he just feels when they're 5 minutes away, gets excited by the door when they come over. You know, when they visit.
I was just gonna say that I've had animals to go sit by the door. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, yeah, she'll be home in 5 minutes. Like the dog.
So the point, right? So the point is, if a dog could be intuitive, so can you, right? And that's why we have to let go of control and things that trap the mind, because that's what we were saying before. Those things will inhibit your intuition if you're cluttered with all these filters, you know, karma and hang-ups, past belief structures that you've inherited, and limited thinking. All those things can block. So being conscious of such, shedding and reprocessing, creating new belief structures in that sense that align with the soul voice is a way to develop the mystic mind too.
Yes, I concur. I mean, I feel, first of all, you have to look at yourself and separate yourself in the day. Like you have to start your day and focus on yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to know where you're picking up signals from in the day. So like it could be you, it could be the world. Like, and a lot of people, you know, amateurs will feel something inside themselves and they'll blame the world when it was them, and blame them when it's the world. And so that's a lack of boundaries and distinctions, and that's part of it, you know. So you have to attune to the subtleties of yourself. And I'll say it's very subtle. It's so subtle, you wonder if you're imagining it. That's how subtle the signals are.
Right.
But you're not imagining it because you didn't think about a second ago, should I imagine this? There was no request. And so you start having to watch yourself to see what's coming in without request, and what's coming upon a request, what's a logical conclusion, a logical next line, and what is not. And so you're watching your own thoughts and your feelings for those patterns.
See, and imagination is what solidifies the intuition for me. That solidifies it.
Yeah.
And so again, like as I always say, when we talk about this, Christopher, like again, imagination is receiving from God or projecting through the self. And so you have to understand, if you're receiving or projecting, creative is exporting, and receiving intuition is internal. So is coming from with source. And so I think that people have to understand the duality of imagination, because imagination, when you feel something, intuition goes, and you start seeing that vividly in your mind, you're clairvoyant with it. Of course, then it'll extend into clairaudience. You start hearing and feeling things. Then you're processing. The imagination needs to be able to process it into the physical language. So absolutely. And the more we let go of those traps, like we were talking about before, Christopher, that makes that process so much easier.
I agree. I mean, your soul uses your imagination. What happens is like God sends the signal, and your imagination draws it for God. So that's what confused me for a long time. Your own imagination is used. And again, how do I know it's not my imagination? Because I was surprised at what came out. Nothing in me had thought of it or expected it whatsoever.
It was served.
It comes out of nowhere, and it comes out clear. It's like clear message out of nowhere.
Right.
And you're like, what was that? And the thing is, before I used to run so fast as a kid, and I used to want to be funny all the time. I still want to, but like, but the point is, like, I would just grab these images and say them out loud to try to be funny, because they were weird sometimes. Turns out sometimes those messages were something like my parents were doing, or like shit that I was supposed to know. And they'd be like, what the fuck? My mom was like, what was that? Later on, I realized, he was talking, he saw right into the bedroom. Like, he knew about what you said to me this morning, or, and so I've seen that with my kid too. He'll say stuff and I'm like, damn telepathy. He's a step seven. Right. Very intuitive, very intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I like smell something, and then like I walk out of the room and my partner's in the toilet. I'm like, I sensed it. I knew he was there. You know what I mean? It's like, were you guys see before?
You sensed where the bad odor was, or you sensed he was on the toilet?
Like in my mind's eye, I'm like, why do I feel sulfuric acid? And I'm just like, it's not in the physical world. I just kind of started feeling that in my mind's eye through my clairsentience, right? And then all of a sudden, I just walk outside. And, oh, he's in the toilet. Okay. So just funny things like that.
Have you ever got a reading from a person who smells stuff as a psychic? Have you ever got a reading from that person? What they call the?
I forget the Claire for the aroma, but because it's not common, it's so uncommon. Sometimes I get the aromas in my reads, but a lot of times, it's more. I've got to a point. I don't know how you've developed, but I always say the wheel shifts. I started very born clairvoyant, very visionary, very visual, and I think when you clear your mind out, it will become very visual, and that's where people might misconstrue that with imagination, because again, you can understand the difference between you pushing the creative out or it being served to you. But clairvoyance, and mine's developed now into, I was feeling more, then hearing more, and now I just kind of know. So when I tap in, it's just kind of, I know the person.
Yeah.
So that's a claircognizance, and so that's a very magical part of the mystical mind is understanding how to evolve the sensory. I use other senses too, but now I would say claircognizance is the kind of like the final sense that we master.
Looks like someone wrote clairience. I don't know. I had a reading from someone who did this.
Oh, yeah, clairalience. Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you, Ketra.
I had a reading from one. I was like, okay, let's give this a try. She fucking described the smell of my grandfather, my father, my mom. Like, she knew all the smells of everyone in the family.
Yeah.
And I could not believe it. I didn't even know how to identify the smell. She was so good at identifying smells. She's like, that's like a cheap cologne, like Stetson or something. Like, Jesus Christ, that was dead.
Yeah.
So it's true though. He's always like showered with it. It's always showered with it. It's like, he entered 5 feet before he came.
Shaving cream. They said the after shaving thing too. They used to put on the same thing. Like it was all over the freaking place.
Old Spice too as well. Oh my God. But I was amazed at that. I was completely amazed. I evolved the same way you did. It started as a knowing. I don't know how to describe it, but when I'm doing a reading, like I just know this, this. But then over time, I think it's as I relax into my craft, it's almost like you relax your third eye. You just sort of like let yourself kind of stare even. I think that's what a crystal ball's about. I think crystal balls were about staring into it, sort of like numbing your mind on that level. So the images, there weren't images in the crystal ball. It's that your third eye was presenting images and projecting onto the crystal ball.
Right.
Projecting onto the crystal ball, right? I never
it's
realized
activation.
that. Yeah, totally. So as a kid, I'm like, that's bullshit. Now I'm like, oh, I get it,
Right.
And then past life stuff is really interesting because it's like a flash bulb that goes off for me. Like I'll just get one flash of a past life. That's it. They'll show me one picture, like one camera goes off in the dark, and I'm like, whoa, you know how like it fades after it goes?
Yeah.
Like turn the light on in the dark.
Right.
And in that flash, like I just know the people, I know what's going on, I know the politics, who's sitting with who, like I just know everything too. And that one flash, I don't just see it, I know it. And it's usually, well, I don't know if it's accurate, it's past life, but it resonates, with the client. That's how you know that you're tapping into it.
My past life regression, just like it's like a reminder. Like it's almost like when I had it felt like it happened yesterday. Like not too long ago, right? And it's like you feel, and the sense of like learning more about yourself like immediately comes into these like a really past life regression. The ones I've had, I'm like, wow, I really come to know really where I've come from. It's like it reminds you of your past energy, and it makes sense in this lifetime. So it definitely activates more too. Like I would say when you go with your intuition, you expand, you elaborate your intuitive senses, it will manifest and evolve into past life regressions. Because that's more about knowing the self. That information will come naturally, and the more of the self that you know, the more you know. We want that graphic. Actually, seriously, the more you know about yourself, that's where the mystical powers really amplify. It really amplifies because we get to activate when we go into the past and we activate more of ourselves. We can activate those pieces in our DNA, the memory in our DNA, skill sets and talents from our past lives that we once had, and reactivate them for this lifetime, in this current timeline, in this current incarnation, which could be very magical. Which could be very like, how do you learn how to do that? Just came out of nowhere, and because we're reactivating, we're learning more of the self, and that creates more of that mystical mind.
I feel we're probably the last generation that won't be born with almost full memory of your past lives. I think that I think the condensity of the energy of the earth when it went to the dark ages and it compressed and compacted, we just sort of like that part went numb. But now, with belief structures in place where the kids can grow up and not be called crazy, I think that we're going to remember all of our past lives once we're here.
I think so.
Like they were yesterday, and I'm seeing that more and more. I see more and more people who have complete coherent past life memories if it was last week. And so I think that's going to be the future. I think it's great. I think we're of maturity. I think in the beginning of reincarnating, you don't remember your past lives because you're getting a second chance. The whole point is that you think you've never done it before, but you have. And you're able to like not have any guilt or worry about failing because it's the first time you're failing from your perspective, having that memory blocked. But now that we're all aware of our past lives or starting to become aware, now it'd be useful, because I would, not blame myself as much anymore.
Right.
Realize this is my thing.
Right. You understand the path and the learning curve on it. Yeah.
Totally
and that just, to me, that's more expansion, because when you're able to like multi-focus and see more, that's an expanded soul, and I think the past lives can be normal. We'll like meet people new, say, hey, we met back in 1928, we'll say like, we'll remember the times we met. It'd be so clear to us. And so that would be kind of super fun though.
That's how I met Kristen. When I met Kristen, I swear to God, the first words out of our mouth, we both made a joke. I'm like, I haven't seen you in 300 years. And she's like, I haven't seen you since I love that. The Renaissance or something. We both made the same joke at the same time. We're like, fuck, that was interesting.
I love that.
Because we were both until then very weird and, didn't admit that to people, or people were like, what's she talking about? So, but it was an instant recognition. I actually had, I run into past life people all the time now. I think I'm more, either it's happening more because of the age of Aquarius, or I'm just more aware because I'm calming down.
You're more aware. You're more aware because you're more aware of self, And I think too, we'll also be more aware of our future lives and our future connections. We'll say, I'll meet you in 50 years. I'll see you in 50 years. We'll start talking like that. Like the continuum of life is more like a whole one life instead. I feel like we'll be approaching things, especially with the mystic mindset.
I think so too. And I know among my friends like you, I have a lot of common stories with my friends in past lives. It brings context to the current life. And I see the same shit going on again with you. It's like that I somewhat recall, it's funny because we don't really change much of our personality or what drives us from life to life. We're pretty much driven by the same impulses, but we just have new sets and aquariums to play them in. Because a lot of our things continue lifetime after lifetime. And from what I understand and from what I believe with the pictures I've had, your eyes are almost identical lifetime to lifetime. So
mine are? Or just in general?
Everyone's. People's eyes.
Interesting.
People's eye shape, their eye shape stays the same lifetime over lifetime. You recognize them in the eye. That's where the soul, I think, comes from. It's like you look in their eyes and you see who you knew, and it's interesting because it's a little bit of a projection too. When you look in your eyes really deep, they're actually sending you like a message. You're seeing your third eye too. I think when you look into someone's eyes, your third eyes are also looking. You know what I mean?
Right.
Compelling. You see them in their eyes. Yeah. You see them.
Yeah.
Those interesting times, and there, what's going to happen? It's like you meet someone in the future, mystical life, and the guy wants to kick your ass because you stole his wife.
Right. And you'll know it. Oh, fine. You found me,
You're like, I'm gay now. I'm gay. It's like, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I got to pay you back. But we'll also be clear saying like, I'll come visit you in 3 lifetimes next. We'll be able to project it too, not just read it from the past. We'll be able to project it, our future meetings with each other and what we're going to be accomplished in the future too. So I think that'd be a very fun way of experiencing life, I think. And I know we're headed there, a lot of us. So.
Yeah. We are. It's funny, even people I would have never thought. Like I have clients where the wife is like all into it and the husband's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And now he'll be in the background, be like, I found out I was in Atlantis.
Right.
He'll stop by the camera and like butt into the girl, like tell me about his stuff. It's like, she's like, get yourself your own reading if you want, but it's it's interesting to see like that arc of that, Archie Bunker kind of skeptic is now very curious.
Have you seen more? Like I've had a huge influx of male clients, and
me too.
and actually a lot of husbands having sessions with me, right? And so I have a huge, but then the past like 3 years, a huge influx of male clients.
I would agree, and we're watching our male numbers go up too on this network. So it's like that's
great.
The men are waking up. Thank God. Good work, ladies. Good work. Good work, ladies. It wasn't because of the men. It wasn't because of the men. That's for damn sure.
Right. Well, they've been withholding, so they got to find some way to find the women now. So like they're not getting any.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't impress anymore.
They're cheating on me with astrology.
It's a great icebreaker anywhere. You say.
Well, you have to admit, like all these husbands, these women, they go to the psychic, and then we spill all the tea, and then they go back to the husband. Husband, like, how the fuck did they know that? And they're surprised now because they're getting all the information. It's like there must be something to that. So I want to figure that out. So, and a lot of these new guys that come, they want to try to come to me to dupe the wife. To tell the wife everything. So so that's kind of the rookie stage of such, but at least they understand it's validating the space for them.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. The men are coming out. I've never had more men admit that they're cheating or that they're doing this. And I'm not saying men are bad. I'm just saying these are the things that men are ashamed of. And you don't even hear about that, you don't even hear that shit about a locker room. You know, like even between men, it's very rare they are going to talk about the things they're ashamed of or whatever. And now men are using me to really get to the bottom of these things. You know, like how can they have 2 wives at once and get away with it? Like that.
I just heard men are using you to get to the bottom. That's all I heard, and my mind went somewhere else.
Exactly what you wanted to hear. That is a future life projection you're having.
It's a current life projection. It's actually about a couple hours to be a projection, actually, of that.
Measure tape, yeah. So
we're kind of just at time now, but anything you want to like kind of close with us with it? Do we have a couple commercials around, or what do we got here?
No one wants to
It's
advertise.
in the stars to seriously change your life with a subscription to Serious Joy. Sign up now for your personalized step astrology and daily pep talks. Highly predictive astrology sent via text and email. Daily Zodiac weather reports. Advanced lectures, classes, edutainment series, and more. Sign up today for only $3.99 to seriously change your life. Only on SeriousJoy.com.
Are you a practitioner looking to move your life's work into the spotlight? Do you have that special magic that makes you stand out? Serious Joy is now auditioning for its new Practitioner of the Week segment on Namaste Today. Sensei Christopher is looking to highlight qualified lightworkers with a promo short dedicated to raising awareness about your gifts. Interested? Contact Jenny at intuitive.com to apply for an audition and get ready to shake what your spirit gave you.
Wow. Shake what your spirit gave you. Just shake what your spirit gave you. Remember that old song, Shake What Your Mama Gave You? So we got a new version. Shake what your spirit gave you. Right? Hands up in the air.
That is
God,
it.
I'm really showing age, aren't I, right now?
You're what?
I'm really showing age right now, aren't I?
No, it's okay. Age is good. Age is wisdom. I think it's kind of how things are shifting in that regard. And the soul's becoming timeless. You know, I think we'll stop aging once we, stop a lot of bad poisons in our bodies, and our heart is filled with love. I think we'll stop aging.
Yeah,
you know, I think that we're going to be able to reverse that with our consciousness. And from what I hear, like when it's running correct, like everyone stays at the age of like 35 in their looks, but they go to like 120 in their age.
I'm cool with that. Let's do it.
Who isn't? I was hot at 35. So, all right. Well, pretty much doesn't take a second. You know that. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my god.
I mean, Stevie Wonder could see that, right? I mean, shit.
He was amazing. Yeah, I think we'll talk about musicians sometime, but I think that most brilliant musicians are working with heaven as collaborators and really downloading a lot of that stuff. So yeah, we can talk about that.
I'm getting back into writing my new music too, because I was at the gym and I was just all the songs I had on play for production with new music. So I'm gonna get back into my grind with that as well. So I feel like I need to like express more of that in a new space. You know.
Well, my creativity has exploded, and I mean that. Like I don't know what it was. It was after Unite the Light. Maybe it's just the burden off my shoulders of just how much I went through in this last change.
Totally.
But I suddenly was just like having brilliant thought after brilliant thought. And when I say brilliant thought, I mean it came in. I didn't ask for it.
Right.
I look at it, I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. You know what I mean? And that's why I started my career. And it feels like I've gone through all my shadow, and now I'm coming out of it again. And the creativity part, I just love being creative. I love channeling ideas. I love making things, making things. So I've really seen that happen as far as my own personal witness to, the 5D. It's getting a lot more fun. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, friends. Well, that's it for our show. Join us next week as we talk about the hidden history of Earth. And don't forget to check out the Scott Show. Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, don't forget to check out my show tomorrow night. As we said, it's called Where the Fuck Are We Going? Where Are We Headed? That's the name of my show tomorrow. Kind of get a glimpse into like the currents and the collective current where we're going. Live readings, all the great stuff tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. See y'all tomorrow.
I just pulled the King of Cups for whatever that means. All right, folks. See you next week. We love you. Good night.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, tell me.
King of Cups, huh?
Yeah.
Look what I just pulled. Look at you're not gonna get Queen of Cups and 3 of Cups. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. And I'm the king, baby. Well, I wonder what that means. It's all the cups. It's a lot of water. Maybe emotion.
Well, that's like a celebration, and fertility, creativity, new idea.
Yeah.
3 cups is that celebration. Also, the mind, body, spirit connection, a flow. That's good stuff.
I'd say I was feeling it in the show.
Yeah.
I was feeling all of that. Yeah.
Now you're gonna crash
Yeah.
and burn.
We could do that actually